Welcome back, everyone. This is Greg Lochner for Auto Body Training Solutions. In the last segment, I was talking about basic hammers and dollies and their uses. And one hammer I didn't talk about, and I get asked about this frequently, is a shrinking hammer. And the reason I didn't talk about it, because on today's sheet metal, you shouldn't do any metal shrinking. You're not going to take the torch and heat up a panel anymore and heat shrink it. On older cars, restoration, fabrication work, it has its purposes, but in today's Welcome back, everyone. Greg Lochner for Auto Body Training Solutions. In the last segment, I talked about basics on hammers and dollies, choosing the right tools and proper use of them. And I get asked frequently about a shrinking hammer, and I didn't talk about that because you shouldn't be doing heat shrinking on today's sheet metal. These videos that I'm doing, they're geared towards the repair shops, not so much restoration. So there's more repair shops out there today, and I think that's what a lot of the guys are interested in. So you shouldn't be using a shrinking hammer as far as taking a torch, heating up the metal red hot, shrinking it, with the e-coating that's on them, the galvanized metal, plus just the strength that's into the steel, the hardness, you're going to change all that. So it shouldn't be used, but I get asked quite a bit about a shrinking hammer, so I'll cover it real briefly. What a shrinking hammer, it has a face on it, almost looks like a waffle iron, and a lot of guys think that when you hammer on it, it's going to shrink it. I don't believe that's the case. What it's going to do, these little teeth there will bite into the sheet metal a little bit and actually maybe hold it from expanding while you're hammering on a panel. So it basically doesn't shrink the metal by hammering on it. I think it should be called maybe an anti-stretching hammer. But like I said, these shouldn't be used anymore as far as the shrinking process goes. So what we're going to do today is just a quick demo on, I got a couple small dents in a panel here. And the last segment I was talking about overstretching and using too heavy a tool or maybe too much pressure on it. So what usually guys will do, they'll have a dent in a panel like that, and they'll get on the back side, take their hammer and dolly and just flatten it out. And what happens, it'll actually put a little crown on it. You stretch the metal, maybe you pushed it a little bit too far, and you'll have a crown on there. The metal here is fairly flat this way, but this way it's got a lot of crown here. So and you can use the straight edge to help you gauge fairly close, but not 100%. But I'm going to show you what happens. We'll take this dent. Now using that straight edge again, you can see and you can actually hear the movement in there. So it's brought it out too far. Once you get to that point, it's hard to go back. Because what happens, looking at the side view of this fender, it has a crown to it. So now you've taken where that dent was and you've actually extended that crown a little bit in that spot. That's why the straight edge, you can see it pivoting on there. So it's basically like an arch. An arch is a very strong structure, but now you're taking something that's got this curve to it and you're going to try and push it back in because you've gone too far. And what's going to happen, you're going to end up putting a buckle out here, a buckle out here, and this is going to cave in too far. And if you remember before, what I was talking about was these high and low spots and the work hardness of the metal. So what you created now is a bigger problem than you had to start with. Okay, now I'm going to start with my bumping hammer, light pressure with a heavy dolly. I don't want to really push on it, but just kind of support it, and I'm going to work around it, work my way in towards the center. Okay, it's coming out fairly well. It's not overstretching it. Now I'm going to go to a light pick hammer, and we're going to work on that center just a little bit. It's best just to go slow and easy, take your time. Flip it over, see what the back side and the front side look like. It's getting real close. I'm going to switch to the light dolly now because I don't have a lot that I want to move, and I don't want to overstretch it. See what it looks with our straight edge. It lays pretty flat there. It's not pivoting on a high spot. And it's to the point where you could probably take a DA, some 80 grit, cut that down, and then maybe just a skim coat of Bondo. Now, I only spent a couple minutes hammering and doweling this as opposed to about 10 seconds on here is what I see done pretty common, guys will do. Now with that high spot, you're going to have to try and beat it back down. You're going to have more filler, you're going to stretch it. We spent maybe 2-3 minutes hammering this out, took our time, kept checking both sides, and it feels pretty good. Very minimum filler, so a little bit of time using the hammers and dollies correctly will save you a whole lot of time in the long run. Thanks for watching.